Hello. Thank you so much for taking the time to look over my book talk. Today we're going to be talking about the novel Hatchet by Gary Paulson. Hatchet is a 1987 Newbery Honor winning young adult wilderness survivor novel written by Gary Paulson. Hatchet is a great novel for junior students and covers a number of themes, including survival, spiritual health, self reliance, gratitude, and nature. The novel Hatchet follows 13-year-old Brian as he attempts to survive in the Canadian wilderness. The beginning of the story sets up Brian's journey to see his father after separation from his mother. Brian gets on a small aircraft, and before he goes, he is handed a small hatchet from his mother to prepare him for his adventures, unknowing that this hatchet will become pivotal to Brian's survival in the coming weeks. While on their flight, the pilot suddenly has a heart attack and dies, leaving Brian off path alone and having to land a plane all on his own. Brian is able to do that. And the quote, "He was alone in the roaring plane with no pilot. He was alone, alone," sets up one of our major themes of the book, which is solitude and self-reliance. After Brian's crash, the story takes us through Brian's coming to terms with being stranded in the forest as he has hope and loses hope about being found and learns how to live in the forest. This is from finding gut cherries to berries to learning how best to use the tools that he has with him, which includes his hatchet. The hatchet, which was a small gift from his mother, soon becomes his lifeline, allowing him to have fire, to create his shelter, and to defend himself in the forest. While Brian is learning how to survive in the forest and waiting for rescue, he is also having reflections on his past, one being a large secret that he knows, and that his mother was having an affair, which led to his parents' separation, and, in turn, why he is in the forest. As Brian's time in the forest continues, he comes across a number of different animals, whether it was the bear at the berries, the fish in the water, or the wolf that he sees himself in. Brian connects to nature in a way that most are not able to. Brian spends a large portion of the beginning of the novel waiting to be rescued, thinking about being rescued. But when a plane flies over and does not see his signal, he is devastated. The quote, "He was not the same. The plane passing changed him. The disappointment cut him down and made him new." There was a clear line drawn in the sand of who Brian was and who Brian became after that moment. The theme of gratitude is present throughout the novel and continues in the last half of the book. Brian has a deep understanding that everything he has, he had to work for, whether that's the food that he has collected, the shelter he's built. He's especially aware of these when things are taken away from him after he's attacked by a moose by the water. This breaks Brian down to his core, and he's able to see again how fragile life is and how quickly these things that he's built can be taken away from him. Brian has a lot of time for self-reflection throughout the novel. The quote, "That was the kind of thing I would have done before," he said to the lake, to the sky, to the trees. "When I came here, I would have done that. Not now, not now." Brian is very self-aware that who he was when he first crashed is different than who he's turned himself into while having to survive alone in the forest. While the novel ends with Brian being rescued, the changes that Brian went through and the experiences that he has have changed him forever. He is no longer the boy who was on that flight. He is a new Brian, having to relearn how to live in society. Since the novel focuses only on the story of Brian, readers are able to follow along easily with the one character and also connect to Brian, whether that's through his survival techniques or his reflections on his family or his feelings of despair or anxiety. Students can make those connections to the novel. Thank you again for taking the time to listen to my book talk. Please let me know if you ever end up using Hatchet in your classroom.